Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today we're going to be doing some Barbaros Melffy test hands. I'm really excited for these because this is actually a Patreon request test hand video for Sienna. So Sienna asked me to make a deck that could use King Beast Barbaros and Beast King Barbaros in the same deck, and I had free reign to do anything I wanted with them, and so I actually used Melffy as my base to be able to actually summon out those cards, to be able to summon some really amazing combos, and do some really amazing stuff in this deck. I'm really excited to show this deck off for you, Sienna, because this deck is super fun to be able to play with, and it actually summons out one of the coolest monsters in the entire game, which is actually Beast King Barbaros, which is a super old school amazing card. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can come part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon in the description below for all those awesome rewards, just like Sienna did, like getting your name description in a single video, getting a signed cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month you're a patron, along with test hands. So without further ado, definitely give Sienna some love down in the comments down below, and we're going to get straight on into these test hands. Because this deck, like I said, it's really interesting the way that I built this deck. Like, the requirements was I had to use both Barbaroses, and I had to use Horn of the Phantom Beast, this old school trap card, which actually comes in really handy with this deck because of the new King Barbaros that came out a little while ago. It can actually attack all monsters your opponent controls, and combo with that card just is really an amazing combo piece in this deck. So let's go ahead and see what we can do for the first test hand. We're going to go ahead and pile shuffle the deck, and let's see what we can do for our first test hands. So this is actually a really fun thing to do because I haven't, like, I've played when they first came out, I played Melffy, but I didn't really like pick them up with anything without Tri-Brigade. Like, I just played the Tri-Brigade variant when I first built them. And so it's a really fun deck, and I've really enjoyed building this one because it plays like an old school card. It reminds me a little bit of like Guilford the Lightning, where you can just board wipe your opponent. So let's go ahead and see what we can do for our first test hand. So for our first test hand, we're going to immediately draw into a Rescue Cat. You know it's going to be a good time because we have Rescue Cat, Alpha the Master of Beast, Puppy, a copy of Obedience School, and another Alpha. So this is a totally great hand, actually. Like, this is not a bad hand at all. You can do some really simple stuff going first. Obedience School actually comes in really nice in this deck because it gives you 3 monsters, and then it just means you can't special summon, but you can still normal summon for the turn. So you can actually use this card really well with stuff like Barbaros, because then you contribute all 3 of the monsters because they're going to destroy themselves during the end phase to be able to go into some really good plays. So if we're going to go into this turn, you can do some really simplistic stuff. If you go second, you usually want to go second. I'm just going to show you guys what you would draw. It's just a Monster Reborn. It's not going to help you out all that much, but let's go ahead and start the handoff. If we're going first, we're going to immediately drop the Obedience School, and the Obedience School is going to let us special summon from deck some monsters, which I'm going to go ahead and special summon out a copy of the Mystical Beast of the Forest, the Bunny, and then I usually special summon out a copy of Cat and Puppy to my side of the field. I usually just go ahead and get those out on my side of the field so I can go into a rank 2 play, which is really helpful. It makes it so that you can't special summon. You negate the effects of the monsters, and also they're destroyed during the end phase, but after this card resolves, you can't special summon anything but a beast. But you can still normal summon if you want to. You can also normal summon out to your side of the field your copy of Cat, so you can actually go in some really good plays. So we're going to go ahead, and you have these 3 on the field, so we're going to go ahead and normal summon out Cat. We're going to go ahead and tribute the copy of Cat, because Cat's effect will go off to be able to send this card on your field to the graveyard to special summon 2 level 3 or lower beast type monsters, and we're only summoning beasts anyways, so you're going to get in some really good plays. So we're only going to summon out the copy of Mind Mole, and we're going to summon out the copy of Valfon because they're both beast monsters. It doesn't really matter because you're only special summoning beasts anyways, so you have a full field. So you can actually make some rank 2s, or you can actually go in some really interesting synchro plays because you do have a tuner on your side of the field, and you can go into Naturia Beast. So if you're going first, you want to set up a little bit defensively, so we're going to go ahead and synchro these 2 away, summon out your copy of Naturia Beast, and then you can go ahead and overlay if you want to, or link summon. It's kind of up to you which way you go. I usually like to overlay to be able to go in some better plays. You can either go in for the Melffy Mommy, or you can go in for like a Forest. You can go in for a Forest as well. It kind of depends on which one you want to go for the different matchups that you're going to be able to play against. If you go for this, it's not going to be able to be destroyed by battle. If you go for the Forest, then you're going to be able to do the effect of detaching material to add another card from your deck to your hand, which is the one I like to go for usually, and plus it's 2000 defense. And if I face up another monster you can control returns to the hand, then you can target one face up monster your opponent controls and it can't attack for the rest of the turn, which can help out a lot. So usually I just go ahead and go for Forest, because Forest is going to help me out the most usually. And I usually let my copy of my the rabbit go to grave, because then I can revive it later if need be. And then when you pass turn, you can throw the puppy out to your side of the field in defense position, because all of your monsters that are Melffy have the ability that if your opponent normal or special summons a monster, or if an opponent's monster targets this card with an effect, then you get to return this card to your hand and then get an effect. And this one has the ability to special summon a level 2 beast from your deck, which can be another copy of the rabbit, to then pop something on the field, which is pretty good. And it also has the ability that during the end phase, you can special summon this card from your hand as well. So you just immediately get special summon this card from your hand during the end phase. So you have all these really good plays. You can also detach a material from this, which just can be the Cathy, to be able to add a Cathy before you end turn, because then it's going to help you kind of mill through your hand a little bit. So we can actually add a copy of Cathy to hand. And then when we end, we've only special summoned beasts all turn, but when we end, you can then immediately special summon these two out to your side of the field during end phase and just pass against your opponent, because you have the copy of Forest that's going to be able to make something not be able to attack, and then you have a double special summon as well. And then the double alpha is just really good, because if your opponent controls more attack points on their side of the field than you do, you can just immediately throw this 3k beat stick on your side of the field, which is really nice, especially if you go second. Like I said, the deck does better going second, which amazes me, because of going first, you get these really crazy fields where if you open up Rescue Cat plus the other card, you get these really cool plays. But let's go ahead and see what we can do with some Barbaros plays. Let's see if we can get some Barbaros plays rolling, because that's the basic premise of how the deck works on its own. But let's go ahead and see if we can get that off, because we actually play a bunch of Barbaros cards in this deck. If I don't draw into it, I'll just show you guys what the actual big play with Barbaros is, because there is actually a really good going second play with that card. So let's go ahead and see what we can do for the next play. So we're going to go ahead and shuffle up the deck, and let's see if we can draw it out. So we're going to go ahead and draw into a Barbaros, so we're already set. Another copy of Barbaros, Obedience School, a copy of Alpha, and a copy of King Beast Barbaros. So this is actually perfect. This is a great hand to actually show that off. So if you're going second, you're going to want to go second with a hand like this, but you're not going to know until after the dice roll is thrown. But if you do go second, you're going to draw into another copy of Barbara, or another copy of Obedience School. So I'm just going to show you guys like I'm going second. It wouldn't matter. You can do either or, it doesn't matter. So we're going to go ahead and throw out a copy of our Obedience School. Obedience School is going to be the first play you're going to want to go for. I was going to say Alpha, but you really don't. So you're going to go ahead and throw out 3 monsters on your side of the field. I'm just going to throw a Cathy, a Puppy, and a copy of, it doesn't super matter. Let's go ahead and throw out the copy of the Bunny. So we're going to go throw out those cards on our side of the field. And once we throw these out on our side of the field, if our opponent has any monsters and they didn't stop this, you can actually tribute all 3 of these to use your 1 normal summon during your turn to actually throw out Barbaros. Or you can actually do this a little bit differently and leave these on the field first. And if your opponent still has more attack points than you do, which is only going to be 700, you can just immediately throw out your copy of Alpha, because it is a beast. Because Obedience School is very lenient towards beast, because all it does is if you control no monsters, you can special summon up to 3 level 2 or lower beast monsters with different names from your deck, but their effects are negated and also destroy them during end phase. And for the rest of turn card results, you can't special summon anything but beast, but we haven't. Everything we special summon is a beast, so we're totally fine. So we're going to go ahead and special summon out our copy of Alpha, and then if we want to board wipe our opponent, you can actually just tribute all 3 of these monsters to be able to normal summon out our copy of our Beast King Barbaros. And then once you normal summon out the copy of Beast King Barbaros, you can use its effect to be able to board wipe your opponent, which is really nice, just to be able to immediately board wipe them, because it destroys all monsters, or all cards your opponent controls all at once, and then you can basically hit them for 6,000, which is pretty good. If you pass for turn and your opponent sets up anything at all, you're going to draw into a copy of Back to the Front, and at this point, you can actually normal summon out your copy of your regular Barbaros to your side of the field, because you can normal summon it for 1,900 without tributes, and then you can tribute this card on your side of the field to summon out your copy of King Beast Barbaros to your side of the field. Set both of these cards kind of like bluffs, I guess, against your opponent. Play around the Mech Knight, and then you can attack all monsters your opponent controls. This can do 3k, and then this can do 3k as well. So you're basically OTKing your opponent with all this damage. Now, the really cool thing I will show you guys, just in case we don't draw into it, is there's a really neat combo with Horn of the Phantom Beast, which I'll explain to you guys really quick, which is actually the reason I believe that Sienna wanted this particular deck to begin with, is the interaction between these 2 cards. So the cool interaction between these 2 cards is this card Dark and attack all monster opponent controls once each. Now, Horn of the Phantom Beast says you get to target a face-up beast or beast warrior, which this is a beast warrior monster you control. Equip that target with this card, and then it gains 800 attack. And while the equipped monster destroys a monster by battle and sends it to the grave, you get to draw a card. If your opponent has 5 cards on their side of the field, 5 monsters, and you equip this card with this, then you're basically going to draw 5 cards, because this is going to be a 3800 beat stick that's just going to swing, swing, swing against your opponent, and you're going to draw like 5 cards, which is ridiculously good, especially being able to make a 3800 beat stick extremely easily. Now, the only downside is you want to have to go first when you're going to want to try and pull that combo off. But even if you don't pull that combo off, this card is really good to help you later in the game, which is kind of what I'm going for with this card, is to just generate me more card advantage later in the game. However, dropping this card on the field just at any time against your opponent on a copy of Naturi Beast is really good, because it can help you your Naturi Beast stay alive, or be able to equip it onto something like a regular Barbaros or an Alpha is also very good, because as long as it's a beast or a beast warrior, you can actually equip it. And the other cool thing is even if this didn't OTK the opponent, where you had a field like this, you can actually use the copy of Back to the Front to bring back your copy of your Beast King Barbaros back to your side of the field to get all this damage, which is 12,000 damage on your side of the field, which is pretty good. Now, you wouldn't have the copy of the you wouldn't have the copy of the Horn of the Phantom Beast, but you still have all those other attack points on your side of the field, which is still pretty good. So this deck is actually really consistent, which is what's really amazing about this deck. I really love the way that you can actually use the Melffy engine in this deck, and it just works so well to be able to tribute summon out Barbaros and actually get that really awesome effect off of that card. So let's go ahead and see what we can do for the next one. So we're going to go ahead and shuffle up the deck and see what we can pull off. So we're going to go ahead and sit it down, and let's see. We're going to draw into a Barbaros, another Barbaros, Back to the Front, a King Beast Barbaros, and a Kathy. So you can do some really simplistic plays with this first opening hand. So what you're going to do is, if you normal summon this card, you normal summon it without tributing, but its original attack becomes 1900. So we're just going to normal summon this out, tribute it on our side of the field, and then immediately special summon out the copy of King Beast Barbaros, which has the ability that you can tribute monsters whose total level equal 8 to special summon this card from your hand to your side of the field. We'll set the copy of our Back to the Front, and then during end phase, we're going to special summon the Kathy to our side of the field, and then we're going to, after we do that, we're just going to pass against our opponent. We don't have to do anything fancy. If we pass against the opponent, then if our opponent does any sort of damage against us, board wipes us, you can actually activate the effect of the Caddy, and it has the ability to return this card to your hand if this card is targeted for an attack, or if your opponent normal or special summons any sort of monster, and then you could add from your deck to your hand a beast monster from your deck to your hand. So we're going to immediately bounce this card back to our hand to be able to add a beast monster from our deck to our hand, which can actually be the copy of our rescue cat, which is really good because it can get us into Naturi Beast during the next turn, which is really helpful just to get those additional plays, because getting the Naturi Beast is just ridiculously good. So after we go ahead and shuffle up the deck, we're going to go ahead and let our opponent keep going. If they do get rid of this, then that's okay, because during an end phase, we can actually activate the copy of Back to the Front and bring it back, because you did correctly special summon this card, and it doesn't really care. It does special summon itself in defense position, but if they didn't get rid of this card, you can actually bring back the Barbaros, and it will come back as 3000 because it just comes back for, you know, summoning. So it isn't summoning on that requirement of 1900, so you can revive it back as another 3k beat stick in defense position, and then during your turn, you can attack directly. But for conversation's sake, let's say they did destroy the copy of the Barbaros. We're going to go ahead and pass, and the effect, or your opponent's going to go ahead and pass, and the effect of this card, I believe during your end phase is the only time this card goes off, so you won't go off again. It would be a little overpowered if it did. So we're going to go ahead and draw for turn, which is a copy of Puppy, and then now you can normal summon out your copy of your rescue cat, and go ahead and tribute that card off and send it to the graveyard to be able to special summon out to your side of the field again, the Mind Mole, and then another copy of a monster like the Velphon. The Velphon is the most important card to summon, because then you're going to get the Synchro again for the Naturi Beast to negate the spells, switch this to attack position, and then you can use the copy of Barbaros to banish another Barbaros monster from the graveyard, which is the Beast King Barbaros from the grave. And then this card's effect will go off to target 2 cards your opponent controls and destroy them, which is pretty good because you actually just tributed this card to be able to go off. And the other thing is I play trade-in this deck, so if I would have drawn instead of Puppy into a trade-in, which I will show you guys very quickly, If you do draw into trade in, you can then immediately use this right here to draw into 2 more extenders, which is really good, but you know, you still get those really good plays. This is just extra bonus because then I can use the copy of Monster Reborn to summon out another Barbaros from the graveyard and go off with some really good plays, and then summon out this guy off of tributing that Barbaros, and then you can use his effect as well to be able to banish this card if you want to, but you can only use his following effect once per turn. So you can't use his effect the same turn because you already used this one, but you still get another 3k beat stick, which is really nice. So let's go ahead and see what we can do for the next test hand, because that's just a little potential of this deck. This deck has a lot of potential to use Barbaros. It has the defensive plays, basically, of using the Melffy monsters, and then it has the offensive plays of using Barbaros to be able to board wipe your opponent, and it's really good. Like, this deck is actually really good. I really like the way that this deck turned out for you, Sienna, and it's just really fun. Like, this deck is really fun, actually. Like, I'm really excited with the way it actually came out, because it's super fun to just be able to throw out multiple Barbaroses and even Alpha on your side of the field. So let's go ahead and see what we can do for the next one. So we're going to go ahead and shuffle it up, and let's see what we can get. We're going to draw into a Horn of the Phantom Beast, a copy of Alpha, a copy of Velfon, Mind Mole, and a copy of the Bunny. So this is not the greatest hand. This is where you start to kind of look and see, okay, this is where we need to pile shuffle because we're hitting these two together, this Mind Mole and the Velfon together. You need to shuffle it a little bit better, but that's okay. We still have some really good plays that you can go off with, because all you have to do is basically set this on your side of the field and then set the copy of the Horn of the Phantom Beast and then pass. You don't have to do anything fancy against your opponent. You can still go into some really good plays. So we're going to go ahead and pass against our opponent. When our opponent goes into their turn, it's going to destroy this copy of the Bunny. And when it does, you're going to be able to go to your turn. If your opponent does any damage, that's okay. And you're drawn to the King Beast Barbaros, which is really good. So we're going to go ahead and special summon out our copy of the Alpha, normal summon out the copy of the Velfon. Velfon's effect can go off. You can discard a card and then target a level 2 or lower beast monster in your grave, and then special summon it back to your side of the field, which you can go ahead and discard the copy of Mind Mole to be able to revive this, pop a card on your opponent's side of the field, and then tribute the copy of Alpha, and then special summon out the copy of Barbaros. And then if you want to synchro, you can, to protect yourself, with a copy of the Beast or your copy of your Velfon, or you can overlay these two to immediately go for a copy of Sendayo, which is going to be really helpful to go and to this card, number 64, Ronin Raccoon. This card is really helpful because then you can actually use the copy here of the Horn of the Phantom Beast to OTK your opponent, and then you basically just detach a material from this card, and it's going to give you a token on your side of the field, which the token will actually have the effect of, it'll gain the attack of the monster on the field with the current highest attack, which is pretty cool to have the monster with the highest attack. So this token comes out at 38. This card can attack everything your opponent controls, which is really good. And then for every card that it destroys, you draw a card, which you're basically going to draw, let's say, 5 cards, which is the max potential of this particular deck. If your opponent is going to be drawing, if your opponent has 5 monsters, you could potentially draw 6 if they have a Link monster, if it can be beaten over by a 3,800 beat stick, which should be able to, and then you can swing at your opponent with this. And this also has 1,000, which is pretty good, just to be able to get you an additional monster. I really like that effect that you actually have the interaction, and I actually got to show that interaction off. It does start off a little bit slow when you get this particular interaction off, but when it does go off, you're usually going to win. So let's go ahead and see what we drew off of that. If we did get to draw the max potential, sometimes it's just 1, sometimes it's just 2. If we just drew 2, it'd be these 2. If it would be 4, it'd be this. But if you draw a full hand of 6, you're going to get all of these cards in your hand, which you're going to get so much card advantage at that point. Your opponent is not going to be able to win because you're going to draw into the Kathy. The Puppy is just really good. Drawing another Barbaros is really good. The Obedient School is really nice in case they board wipe us. The Alpha is also very nice. The copy of Puppy is really nice. And the Back to the Front is just going to get you all those additional plays, which is really, really nice. So let's go ahead and do one more before we close out, guys, because I really think this deck is super fun. Like, I could just sit here with this deck all day and shuffle it because it's just a really consistent deck. Like, I haven't gotten a bad hand the entire time that I've been playing with this deck, and I've been playing with this deck a lot recently because of how easy this deck is to play and how awesome it is just to throw out Barbaros against your opponent. Like, they don't expect it. And unless they have something like an Infinite Impermanence or a Negate on their side of the field that's just going to completely stop the Barbaros, they're usually not going to have a good time. And even if they negate the effect of the Barbaros, they still have to deal with a 3,000 like beat stick on your side of the field, which is really good. So let's go ahead and see what we draw. So we're going to draw into a Cathy, a copy of Call by the Grave, Velfon, Barbaros, and a copy of Velfon. So this is not bad at all. You can go ahead and just set this on your side of the field, set the copy of Call by the Grave, and then special summon out the Cathy during your end phase, and then you can just pass. When you pass against your opponent, when they summon a monster, this card's going to bounce itself back to your hand. You're going to get your search of your beast monster, which can be anything that you particularly need. It's just any beast, because if your opponent normal summons a monster, you can add from your deck to your hand one beast, except another copy of itself, which can be your copy of your Naturia, or not your Naturia, pretty much Naturia beast, because you're going to add Cat to your hand, shuffle up the deck, and then you're going to go back to your turn, draw for turn. If they destroy this, actually, let's say they destroy that, and then you're going to get to draw for turn, which is a Monster Reborn, which is actually pretty good because you get a lot of plays and a lot of potential with that Monster Reborn. And you also have the copy of Call by the Grave set, because if they do hit the copy of the Cat, you do have the play. So we're going to go ahead and summon out the Cat. Cat's effect's going to go off, and you're going to get to special summon out your two monsters to your side of the field. Again, kind of depends on what you need for this particular play. Kind of totally up to you. You can actually go for some stuff like your copy of your rabbit. I usually like to go for the rabbit because the rabbit can be revived out of the graveyard if I'm not going to go for Velfon. Plus Mind Mole, I summon out the copy of rabbit plus something else and have a Velfon in my hand, so it's not going to go off. So you summon out the rabbit and summon out like a Finny to your side of the field, something that you don't really need or something you want to revive later. Can be really nice. So I'm going to go ahead and summon out these two to my side of the field, and then I'm going to overlay both of these. And then once I overlay both of these, I can summon the Sendio, and then I can immediately detach the material. If they did try and hit me at any point, I can just hit this. And then I get a token that has the highest attack on the field or matches the highest attack on the field. And I also have the Monster Reborn, because if my opponent leaves anything in the graveyard, I can get it back. I can also summon the Velfon to my side of the field. And then since I have a beast in the graveyard, I can discard the other copy of the Velfon to be able to revive out of the graveyard the copy of the bunny, to be able to pop something. And then guess what? That's another link 2, or not a link 2, but a level 2 that we can go into. So you can actually go into Forest here. That'll let you add a copy of a Melffy from your deck to your hand, which is going to be a copy of, let's see, Puppy, because we already have the copy of our other monster to our hand, which you already have Cathy, and now you have Cathy Puppy. And then if you attack your opponent with the copy of the token, you can then pass and then throw out these two monsters on your field, and then when they summon, both of them will bounce back to the hand. You'll get a special summon and a search of a beast, which is pretty cool. The copy of Puppy will let you special summon a level 2 or lower beast monster from your deck to your side of the field, which can be any of them that you particularly want it to be. You can actually summon out the copy of the other bunny from your deck to be able to pop something, and then the copy of Cathy that bounced itself to the hand will get you a search of a beast, which can be literally any beast at this point. It doesn't super matter what you grab. It could be something like a copy of Hoppy or Squadron if you want to grab that, because it doesn't care, because all it does is if this card, if you're on normal special summon the monster, then you get to add from your deck to your hand, or if your target's for attack when this card returns to your hand, then you can add one beast monster from your deck to your hand, which is really great. Like, that is really an insane effect that literally lets you add any beast monster from your deck to your hand. Like, you can grab Alpha if you want to grab Alpha. Like, it's ridiculous. I really like that effect. Just to be able to grab any of those cards. So you just get all these really good plays. So I think that's going to do it for this one, guys. It's a really fun deck, and I'm glad that you actually requested this one, Sienna. This one was a blast to actually build, because I've always wanted to do something besides Tri-Brigade with this deck, and it kind of inspired me with you requesting this one to actually like make something different with this deck, because I didn't want to just keep building Tri-Brigade with this deck, because I feel like this deck has a lot of potential. It just needed that extra push, and I'm glad that you actually gave it that extra push to suggest Barbaros as a deck for this particular build. So thank you so much, Sienna, for requesting this one. This one was a lot of fun to actually build, and I'm excited to actually for you to see this one. And definitely don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, guys. Hit the bell on there so you can come part of Notification Squad. And if you guys want to check out the deck profile, it is down in the description below, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.